what inspired me to write a song in the first place was actually your email. When you reached out to me, and I was just thinking, like when I first got the email, I was like, oh, I don't know if I can write something for it. And then I just kind of let it like sit on the back burner. And then I think you sent like, this is the last chance you can submit or something like that. So I'm like, you know what? I don't have that much of a long timeline, but let me try to make something. And I've always wanted to write my own songs. I've always loved to sing. It was actually my first love when I was 3. But over the years, I kind of just fell more into acting. And maybe there were probably some outside factors that made me feel a little self-conscious about how my voice sounds when I sing. So I think I just kind of shoved it away and I was like, that's okay. I don't need to sing. I'll just act. Um, so what inspired me to take the challenge to write a song was basically like you reaching out to share a piece of work. And I thought to myself, well, if I can create something by September 1st, I think it was, or I forget the deadline, um, and if Summer accepts it and likes it, then maybe I have something like worth sharing, you know? Like that was my kind of gauge. I was like, if Summer's like, you know, I see something in it, then I'd be like, oh, then at least that's one person who wants to hear it. So that's what inspired me to write a song. But the song was inspired, basically, it was loosely based off of this poem I wrote like over 10 years ago when I was bartending at Abby's in downtown Jersey City. And I think there was a baseball game playing, like I think it was like a day shift. So I had more time to do like homework or write poems and stuff. And so the first couple of lines, like there's a line that says, he swung and took a miss. So that was because I was watching baseball. But the poem just kind of developed into its own personal story. And I think it just reflected how I felt, um, kind of trapped in this relationship that I shouldn't have been in. But I was also, I don't know, 20, 21, or maybe 19 when I started dating the person. Um, and I think, you know, when you're that age, it's such an impressionable age, and you kind of think like, I'm an adult, I know who I am, you know, and I like to say that I had a strong sense of my identity at that time. And but when I started dating this person who was 5 years older than me, and toxic relationship, and he just had, I didn't know at the time that he had a problem with alcohol and drugs. That was something that I realized probably like 3 months into the relationship because he hid it so well. Um, and I think, you know, when you're in the thick of it, it's hard for you to see what other people see. And I think at that age, I was just clinging on to making this relationship work because I just kind of fell into this hole of I cared so much for this broken person. And when I look back on the relationship, I think about things that he said, you know, like he'll say stuff like, stop trying to save me. Like, you can't save me, or you're just one of those people who think they need to save people. When I've never asked him to change, you know, I just wanted to have a relationship with someone who I thought I was in a relationship with. And I think me clinging on to that and just kind of being in this toxic relationship and being crazy and doing things like so outside of my character, I felt like I didn't recognize who I was anymore. I didn't feel strong anymore. I felt so weak. And it's crazy because it's so hard to see that when you're in it, but it's so clear when you're out of it. And then, you know, the friends that do stick by, um, they tell you little things like, yeah, I didn't feel like you were like yourself anymore. Like kind of more like a shell of who I was, you know? And so upon finally getting out of that relationship, which took probably more than 3 years, because, what do relationships really end when they end if you live in such a small town? Um, but I kind of felt like, looking back on that experience and where I'm at now, I think it just comes full circle to how quickly we lose touch of ourselves when we get wrapped up in not just relationships, but just like a situation we shouldn't be in. And I feel like this song, because so the person I'm talking about, he's actually not alive anymore. He eventually, um, and it's so sad. I don't even know if like, I don't want to say this because I don't want it to be true, but there are times when I think about it because it did cross my mind. Like the last time that I finally realized, like, oh, I don't have to see him anymore, that like this person's not going to be a part of my life anymore, and I'm just going to completely wash my hands and walk away. I had a sense in the pit of my stomach that it might, that might, I might be, one, the last person to ever really care about this person, and two, that maybe they might not end up in a good spot after this. And a couple years later, um, I get a phone call from a really close friend telling me that he passed away and that they suspected that it was a drug overdose. I never really looked into it. I don't even know if I even really allowed myself to feel anything at the time or mourn his death, because I had my own feelings about him. So 10 plus years later, this song comes about, and I think it's just like a cathartic release for me, honestly. And I think it's something that was a long time coming. Um, and I think it's, yeah, that song was inspired by a specific time, but I think it's also reflective of just me kind of standing into my own power and taking up space and just speaking from my heart and my feelings and my emotions, and not being afraid of being vulnerable. Because I didn't know how to feel or digest the information of his death. Like, I didn't go to his wake, I didn't go to his funeral, because I didn't know if I could even be in the same room with my past. Because all those people, like, they were his people. All those friends, they were his friends. So it's kind of like once we went our separate ways, I kind of no longer belonged in that group anymore and branched off and did my own thing. Um, and and I think I was also dating someone else at the time, and he was right kind of near me. It was during Sandy, like we were all locked down, and we were like camping in the house because I lived with like 6 people, and I get the phone call and I'm just like, oh, okay, and just didn't know how to react. And I think I was just talking to my friend the other day who helped me shoot some of the music video. He wanted to know, just for artistic purposes, like so he knows how to kind of like frame the shots and know what the feel of the video would be. He asked me like, what is the song about? And I feel like every time I talk about it, I'm discovering what it is about, because I just told you kind of like a general idea of where I was inspired or where the words came from. But it was cathartic because I was just kind of reliving those memories of how traumatizing a toxic relationship can be, and how the long lasting effects it has on you as an adult if you don't face them, if you don't um, recognize that there are even problems, because I feel like we get so blindsided that we don't see that these are problems. They're just little things that you can smooth over, because you focus so much on the care and the love that you try not to think about the negative effects that it has on you mentally, physically, emotionally. Like I even like blew up. I gained like 25 pounds being with the guy, you know? So I'm like, not only am I 25 pounds overweight, brokenhearted, like just all these things. Um, it felt like I finally, and I feel bad. Sometimes when I refer back to him, I'll say like my dead ex, and I know how that sounds like so bad, you know? And I've actually been having a couple of nightmares where he pops up into my nightmares, and I'm just like, what is going on? And I think that's what I mean with the cathartic release is like, I'm fine. I don't think we ever got a chance to really say like goodbye for real. So maybe this is goodbye for real, you know? I think I never allowed myself to really feel sad for him and mourn his death because I had so much anger that I was holding on to, you know? Um, and I think the song is finally like, yeah, the last line of the song is, you know, I'll set you free. But it's not just him setting me free. It's like I'm allowing myself to be free and to not be tied down by these barriers or these bad negative ideas that I plant into my own body and mind, you know, to like finally release from that.